you have to hear.
This is the last.
And is somebody else coming?
Yes. So yeah, like we just said, this is my last opportunity to be here with you for this shiur. I really like the idea of having this kollel, sitting together, gathering, studying together Torah. It's not for granted at all, and it's not for granted for you inviting me. I mean, thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. You want to come?
Yes, we have it. We've had a few shiur in here. I think I really enjoyed being here.
Enjoyed your shiur too.
To doing something a bit different, maybe some things that are not always learned or spoken about in certain ways. And I want to thank you. Thank you for asking me questions and together making it nicer. And today is Rosh Chodesh Av. Rosh Chodesh Av is the yahrzeit of Rashi. Rashi, who passed away 918 years ago.
That was before my time.
Yes. So, and Rashi says in Baba Batra, whoever gets to the 29th page, Daf Kaftet of Baba Batra, so you can see, it says, Ad Kan Peresh Rashi. Until after that, Perush, he died. And after that, you can see, Mikan Peresh Rashbam, his grandson. It's very difficult always reading it. Like he died there. That was his last. Where's the last Rashi in the Gemara? There. But it means that there's a continuation. Things don't stop. So going back to what I started saying, although I'm going back to my homeland, Israel, but it's not that something happened and that's it. It's behind. We've left something behind. No, it's part of me. It's part of my personality. I've become a bit Dutch, beetje. I'm very, very proud to say it in some ways, and I'm taking the good things, and there are plenty of them, to my home. Today we were going to talk about saying lies in the tefillah. Are we allowed to lie, to say words that are not true in the tefillah? There's a beautiful story about Chazal teach us about a man who was married to two women. One was young, and one was older. And this guy had some white hair and some brown hair. So the younger woman wanted him to look young, so she took out his white hairs. And the older woman wanted him to look old, so she took out his brown hairs. At the end of the day, he found himself bald. So in Hebrew we say, Yetza kereach mikan u'mikan. He became bald, mikan, from the younger woman and from the older woman. And in some ways, I feel when I read the words of the tefillah, sometimes, not all of them, definitely not all of them, but sometimes I feel that we are bald. Kerechim mikan u'mikan. So what is it? The fact that in the last 75 years, 120 years, things have changed. I mean, they have changed. Does it affect our tefillah? And if it does affect the tefillah, what kind of changes are needed? If they are needed, maybe they're not needed. If we believe they are needed, so we don't say lies. So what do? The whole idea of tefillah isn't very simple, because we're talking about something very spiritual and putting it in a frame. At the end of the day, we're talking of us standing in front of Hashem, telling him what we thank for, what we ask for. But there's a frame, there are certain words that we are told to say in a certain time. We can't just do it whenever we want. So it makes it sometimes a bit challenging, especially when we're saying the same words time after time, day after day. And maybe sometimes it also makes us not to realize what we are saying. There's another aspect. For example, we know the Hasidish, right? So many times, at least in Israel, but maybe not in the Netherlands so much, but in other places, it's as if they insist not to pray in time. Right? If we have Sof Zman Amidah or Sof Zman Kriyat Shema, let's say 9:30, for example, And they insist they will never start before 10 or 10:30 in some places. And the question is, why? I mean, why are they insisting? Because they can't pray before. How do I know it? Because, for example, I was brought up in Netanya in Israel, and I used to go sometimes to Chabad. My dad always liked me sitting next to him in shul, but I was just tired sometimes after being at night with my friends. So I wouldn't wake up to 8 o'clock meeting. It was too early for me. So I went to Chabad, and I used to get at 9:30, half seen, and I was sitting there, and they were just finishing their half an hour limud of Tanya. So it means they were there by 9 o'clock. They could have done it in time, but they didn't. They learned Tanya. They maybe even had something to eat. I'm not sure. And then they started davening after the time that they can daven. And the question is why? If you can do something in time, why don't they do it? And probably it's because they choose to put more into the feeling, the spiritual side, than to the frame of the side. That's the machlokes, one of the machlokes between the Hasidim and the Mitnagdim. We don't really have Misnagdim today, yeah, but it's Litaim, maybe I can say, or Yekim. Yeah, my family is Yekim. We believe that we're all brothers and Am Yisrael is together. But I think the difference is that we believe that the frame is very important. If you want to continue your Avodat Hashem, you need to have a frame. And some people say the frame is important, but the spiritual side is more important. Now, the ideal situation is that what we say and what we feel is the same. But what happens if I don't feel? For example, I once heard someone that her father survived the Holocaust, and she says that whenever she hears the words El Maleh Rachamim, she either gets out of the room, she stops hearing, she says, El Maleh Rachamim? What are you talking about? The God of mercy? My dad lost his family, his brothers and sisters and parents, and he saw it happening in front of his eyes. How can you say he's a God of mercy? El Maleh Rachamim. Now, that's her story. Okay, I'm the last one on earth that can tell her what to feel. I wasn't there, I'm not in a position. But there is something in what she's saying. Maybe she can't say El Maleh Rachamim if she doesn't feel that Hashem is El Maleh Rachamim. There is also a Gemara that tells us something very similar. I'm going to be reading from a Masechet Yoma, Daf Samichet, Amud Bet. I'll read it in Hebrew or Aramaic and translate it to English. And the Gemara says as following: The Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, Lama nikra shman Anshe Knesset Agdola. So why are Anshe Knesset Agdola named for that name? Shechziru Atara leyoshna. They returned the Atara, something very important as it used to be. What is this important thing? Ata Moshe, came Moshe, and Moshe said, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanoah. Okay, and then after Moshe came Yirmiyah, and what did Yirmiyah say? Nochrim mekarkerin be'ichalov. You're saying Hashem is Norah? You can go today to Jerusalem, 2023, to Har HaBayit, and see people throwing stones or making picnics and playing football on Har HaBayit. Okay, and also Yirmiyah is saying exactly the same thing in his days. How can you say Hashem is Norah? People were just doing whatever they want in Har HaBayit, in the temple. Where is his Noraot? What are you talking? How can you say Hashem is Norah? So Yirmiyah, the Gemara says, Lo Amar Norah. So when Yirmiyah stood and prayed the Amidah, Ata Gibor, Ha'el Hagadol Gibor. He didn't say Norah. Okay. Ata Daniel, came Daniel, Amar, Nochrim Mishtabdim Bevanav. His Am Yisrael, Hashem's children, are slaves, not servants, slaves of the Nochrim. How can you say that Hashem is a Gibor? If it would be such a Gibor, how come his children are slaves? We know people that went through very difficult things, right? How can you say Hagibor? So as the Gemara says, Daniel, Lo Amar Gibor. For me, when I read this Gemara, it's not an easy Gemara. Atu inhu ve'amru. So came and Sheikh Knesset Agdola and said, Adraba. Zoi gvurat gvurato. So this is the proof exactly what they're talking about. That's the proof that Hashem is the Gibor, and that He is Kovesh Yitzro. Shenoten erech apayim lerashaim. Although the bad, the evil, deserve to be punished right now, immediately, He stops himself and He doesn't punish them right now. That shows that He's a Gibor. He can control himself. ואלו הן הוראותיו, שאלמלא מוראו של הקדוש ברוך הוא, אך אומה אחת יכולה להתקיים בין האומות. The fact that Am Yisrael exists, although the whole world doesn't compare Am Yisrael for more than 2,000 years, at least most of the world, that's the proof that Hashem is a Gibor. What other nation survived, like Am Yisrael? And that's the reason why Anshe Knesset HaGedolah were called Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. So what did actually Anshe Knesset HaGedolah do? Did they cancel the words of the Tefillah at HaGibor? No, they said we should still say these words at HaGibor. But they took the meaning and put a different content into it. They took the words and put a different meaning into it. For some people it's enough, and for some people it's not enough. For Yirmiyah and Daniel, it wasn't enough. They decided they can't say it. Now, I asked in the beginning, the fact that in the last 75 years, or 120, since the Zionism started, things have changed. Does that affect our tefillah? Does our tefillah need to stay the same or not? For example, this morning, we davened tefillah of Rosh Chodesh. So it's one of my favorite tunes. What is this melody? Well, the whole tune is like, it expresses how we miss the temple. We're not very, although it's a happy day, Rosh Chodesh, but the fact that we don't have a temple and we can't sacrifice, we can't bring the Korban Musafim, the whole tefillah is talking about Hashem. We want a temple. We want it back. Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Hashivenu Hashem alecha. We want it. Please. We can't sing it in a very, very happy. Okay, so there are sometimes some happy tunes in the tefillah of Musaf, like Kadesh Einu. Okay, we do. But the main tune is it's almost crying. Please help us, take us back. We want. There's a meaning to the tune. But what about the words? Should the words be different? Now, we'll talk about two things. One is Yom Ha'atzmaut, and the second is Tisha B'Av, which is going to be very soon, 8 days. Yom Ha'atzmaut. So, when the state was established, the Jewish state was established, people said, okay, what do we do? Do we continue with the same tefillah? What do we do? So some kehilot, we know, say Hallel. The joke says, I'm not sure it's a joke, but some kehilot say Slichot on that day, because it's a very sad day. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but probably there are some people that are very sad that there is a Jewish state, because they think it should have been different. But it took time until the actual tefillah was changed or added. It wasn't changed, but things were added to the tefillah. So if we go to shul today in Yom Ha'atzmaut, also here in the Yetzer Sefer, we davened here a few months ago. So it's like something in between. So the words are like the everyday Mariv. When we say Amida, sorry? We'll talk soon about the Anisim. It's a very good thing you said. The Amida is more or less, it's the same.
They made it.
Unless we add that. Sorry?
They made it to fill up Alanism.
A few of them. There are several versions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people don't say Anisim. Most people will just say that, start with the V'ur Achum, say the Brachot, Shema Yisrael, Amida, and they will, before Mariv, they will add a few Mizmorei Tehillim, thanking Hashem. That's in the ACC, that's what happened. After Amida saying Hallel, few more psukim, it remind us the ending of Yom Kippur, saying Hashem hu Elokim, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and blowing the shofar. counting the Omer. Actually, here you can't count the Omer because it's too early. It's before Nacht. But Aleinu Shabach, and that's it. So the words are more or less the same. A few things are added, but the actual tefillah, the tefillah, the Amidah, is the same. When does the difference come? So the difference is in the next day, in the morning, Shachris, that most communities say Hallel with a bracha. That's the chidush. Now I say chidush is funny. It's not a chidush. It's even.
We always say in say we do the same as Ben Gurion. No Hallel, no Tachlis.
Yeah, but Ben Gurion was not a tea anyway.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's the minhag.
That's the minhag here.
You see on the little Pesach, you also say in the evening Hallel Mebracha.
No, we say.
No,
We can.
yeah.
I'm not talking about the minhag. The minhag here, there's a rabbi, Maradatra, and he decides. Unless the people decide for him. Yeah?
They say Hallel on Pesach. Yes, of course.
I went to Amos on a Yom HaSmot morning, and they said, but Amos is maybe different. It's not exactly the Dutch minhag, it's something.
Yeah.
So the difference is in Yom HaSmot, in the morning when we say the Hallel. But there were some pieces that were added to the tefillah that some communities say and some don't say. So let's give some examples. Al Nisim, we're talking about Al Nisim. So I announced it to Yeshivat Bnei Akiva, Kfar HaRoeh. Kfar HaRoeh is the first Bnei Akiva yeshiva. It was established by Rav Moshe Neria. And Rav Moshe Neria wrote a nusach of Al Nisim for Yom HaTzmaut. How come that we don't say Al Nisim? I mean, so I'll say more than that. There's a very nice answer of Rav Ovadia Yosef. I'm sure you've heard of him. Rav Ovadia Yosef was one of the hugest Talmidei Chachamim, rabbis, leaders of Am Yisrael in the last 100 years. Can't think of many people whatever big like him. And he says as following. He says the Shulchan Aruch says, "Al yish'al adam tzorkav b'shalosh rishanot velo b'shalosh achronot." The person shouldn't ask for his own needs, his own bakashot, in the first 3 brachot of Amidah and the last brachot of Amidah. V'davka tzorkei yachid, and we're talking specifically about things that have got to do to him. Aval tzorkei tzibur, things that have got to do with the tzibur, shari, that's allowed. So if you want to ask for something for the tzibur, you can do it in the 3 first brachot and the last 3 brachot of Amidah. And Rav Ovadia writes this. It appears in his book, Shut Yaskil Avdi. Okay. V'hine, ze ne'emar b'she'elat tzorkei tzibur. Yeah, we said that when it comes to the needs of the tzibur, we can ask for these things in the last 3 brachot, first 3 brachot of Amidah. ואפילו בדרך שאלת צורכיו מותר. והדברים קל וחומר. So we're saying, even if you're saying something that's got to do with your needs, but your needs are part of the needs of the klal, that's also okay. אם ההוספה בשלוש האחרונות לא בתורת שאלת צרכים, אלא בדרך הודעה, דהי כאין הנוסח של הברכה. I'll soon translate, שמודה על קבלת הפרס, שיכולים להוסיף, כמו שמוסיפים, על הניסים, בחנוכה ובפורים. What he's saying, if a miracle happens, it's not your private miracle, it's a miracle that happened to Am Yisrael. So yes, you can pray and add it to your tefillah. He's not talking specifically about Al Nisim on Yom HaTzmaut, but he's talking specifically about Al Nisim on Yom Yerushalayim. Because for many rabbis, especially for those that Rav Ovadia was a Zionist, he was a big Zionist, but not always the people that followed him are always big Zionists like he was. And he tells them, look, some people might ignore the meaning, how meaningful Yom HaTzmaut is, but how can you not appreciate Yom Yerushalayim? We say every day, "V'techazena einenu b'shuvcha leTzion." And our eyes are chozot, watching or seeing Hashem coming back to Zion. Okay, it's not the whole thing. The Mashiach isn't here. We haven't built a temple yet, but we can't say nothing has happened to them. So Rav Ovadia says, yes, you can add Al Nisim on Yom Yerushalayim, and Rav Neria adds Al Nisim for Yom Yerushalayim and for Yom Ha'atzmaut. And some other rabbis also wrote tefillot of Al Nisim in different words. So that's about Al Nisim. About Hallel, the question is much easier. Hallel, have you ever heard of Purim de Frankfurt? So you're in Frankfurt. So in Frankfurt, for example, there was don't remember when, there was a very bad decision to kill all the Jews, like many other places. And at the end of the day, they stayed alive, and the king or whoever decided it was killed himself. And then they celebrated Purim de Frankfurt, just like Purim that happened in Iraq, in Babylon, or wherever it was, in Paras. So the many communities had their own Purim. Purim de Frankfurt, Purim de there, Purim there. And for those days of Purim, they used to celebrate, and they used to say Hallel. Why? Because the community was saved. So they said Hallel with the bracha. So it's a kal v'chomer. If we say if for those communities, specific, small, important but small communities, if they said the bracha on Hallel for being saved, when you establish a state, that any Jew in the world that wants to go there can just say, okay, I'm coming, and will get even 15,000 shekels and 2 suitcases to take with him. Okay, he can just go there if he decides. For that, you don't say Hallel? Of course you say Hallel. That's the kal v'chomer. How can we not? So the question isn't why do people say Hallel? The question is why do people not say Hallel? We have all the reasons to do it. Let's talk about something else. Kriya b'Torah. So most communities don't have a special Kriya b'Torah for Yom Ha'atzmaut. I've never gone to a shul on Yom Ha'atzmaut and seen the tzibur reading a Kriya b'Torah, unless it's a Sheni Chamishi, they read the coming Parashat Shavua. But there are some Rabbanim that wrote, there's a Kriya b'Torah that it should be read in tzibur in those days, on the day of Yom Ha'atzmaut. I don't remember. If you want to know all the details, you can see it in there's a very nice machzor for Yom Ha'atzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim. I gave it to our Chevre of Bnei Akiva as a present a few months ago, and you can see all the tefillot over there. It's a nice siddur. Why is it nice? Because it's all the regular parts are in like a cream. The background is cream, like a regular siddur, but the added tefillot that not everyone says, or most people don't say, or there's a gray frame surrounding. So you can know what's added, what some people add, what some people don't add, and you can decide what to add. Now the idea of reading in the Torah, how can you decide to read in the Torah? Sounds like, who are we to decide what to read in the Torah? But actually the halacha says that no, that if you have 10 people that want to read in the Torah, you can read in the Torah. That's the halacha. You don't have to have a specific reason to do it. 10 people that want to read in the Torah, they can read in the Torah with brachot. So if that's the case, why not read in the Torah? Okay, there are some reasons why not to do it. Because if you ask me, I think it's never
indicated what parasha.
What parasha to read? I don't remember exactly what parasha, but it says there like not a long parasha, but a short parasha. Now it's very easy to get to this conclusion, because if we think of it, we do the same in Hanukkah, right? Now the story of Hanukkah is an amazing story, it's an amazing miracle, but comparing to the miracle that we see in our eyes, it's much smaller. It's a wonderful story, yeah. How can you compare the two? You can't compare the story of Hanukkah to what we see. In Hanukkah we say Hallel, we read in the Torah, and in Yom Ha'atzmaut, for example, we don't. Also, most communities don't. So that's about reading the Torah. If people want to read, basically they can read it if they want, but it's not mekubal. We go to shuls, we don't see it happening so much.
You said that when you add alanissim, they change words also. You mentioned that, so it's interesting because it's not a frame; it's out of the frame, out of the box actually. Is that dependent on where you say so? Some communities can say this, and other communities can say that. If they want to add.
So I've never seen it. I've never seen anyone as a chazan saying Al Anisim in Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Okay,
But so you can say whatever you want. Yeah, and the Shtiblach.
Yeah.
I think they're more surprising. Okay.
And the Hallel you
It was the
Hallel,
yeah.
you can add where you stay within the frame.
What's the frame? The frame you mean bracha?
Just the Hallel as it is.
Yeah, Hallel as it is.
You don't add because of special thing, because you really want to thank.
So we add other things, for example,
Hallel Shalem.
yeah, Hallel Shalem, of course, Hallel Shalem.
Yeah, okay, but
Then
the
you
reason
makes
can be
difference,
the reason can be
especially for Sparadim, it makes a difference.
Why?
You don't say bracha on the Hallel b'diluk.
Ah, okay.
okay.
Nachon. So
Yeah.
Okay.
But the alanissim you can find also on internet. Yeah. You can find them.
or you can just order the Koren Siddur for Yom Ha'atzmaut. It's very nice. Yeah, I really like it. You can write it down somewhere in your WhatsApp, Koren Siddur for Yom Ha'atzmaut. By the way, talking about Hallel,
The alanissim is hetzelfde. Maar dan bimei. That's the different part.
I know,
the
the Hallel is yeah. What comes after is the different. Yeah.
En dat is Chanukah, Purim, Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for the
Alles gut. Okay. Maybe it's just worth to speak a bit about the Hallel. We were talking about Hallel at night. It's a very strange thing. Over here, I don't think we said Hallel in the SSA. We say
yes, first 2 days of Pesach.
no.
No,
This year I was in the SSA. I think there was Hallel without the bracha. Yeah,
The evening? No.
I was Chazan.
Okay.
I'm telling you, we didn't say the bracha. Rav Chonelvat was here, and Rav Menachem Sebach was here, and maybe some other rabbis. So we said after Amida, without the bracha, it's not only that. The Enika published a siddur like a.
This is in Pesach.
Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Oh, Yom Ha'atzmaut, yes.
Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yes, that's
Yom Ha'atzmaut.
I remember.
But Ashkenazim, they don't say it even not on Pesach.
No.
Ashkenazim say it in the Seder night, like on the table. Seder table.
Yeah, we also say it on the same night. But we also
In Shul.
in Shul.
Yeah. So we used to say it in Shul too in Israel, but I haven't started it as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that's got to do with that. So why do we say at night? So there are a few answers to it. I heard a nice answer that the state of Israel, when was it established? Most people will say on Hey Be'iyar. But the truth is, it wasn't really established on the 5th day of Iyar, because the 5th day of Iyar was the last day of the British mandate on Israel, on the land of Israel. Meaning that only the 6th day of Iyar was the beginning. Now the fact they did it on Friday is because they didn't want to do Chilul Shabbat, so they made it early on Friday, so everyone can come, and it's very nice that when people announced on the state, they were thinking of the Chilul Shabbat or not Chilul Shabbat, and they didn't even think twice. They did it on a Friday. So yes, the words were said. Yeah, the words of Ben Gurion. He said it on the 5th day of Iyar, but actually, de facto, it happened on the 6th day of Iyar, and the 6th day of Iyar starts at night. So the miracle happened at night, and that's one of the re'ayot, one of the reasons why to say Hallel at night, because the miracle really happened at night, just like Pesach. Yeah. If we already compare it to Pesach, so it's Yitzhak and Yitzhak, but the miracle of Pesach is, according to Rav Sherki and other rabbis, is smaller than the miracle of establishing the state. And why is that? Because the miracle of Egypt, the nature wasn't part of it. Hashem had to tell the nature, you stop, whatever you need to do. For example, he told the sea, the Red Sea, you stop, let Bnei Israel go through you, and only then you can join. You go back to what you did. Yeah, we know the Gemara saying it's Na'or, it's Na'or Kadosh Baruch Hu Imayam. But now, in our days, in our miracle that we live in, nature is part of the Geula. That's okay. So that's closure for the Yom HaSmot. Now let's get on to Tisha B'Av, and it's very interesting. In Tisha B'Av, I remember before even I prepared the shiur reading about. By the way, most of the things I'm saying are written in the. So yeah, some of them are written in an article of Rabbi Chaim Navon from Modi'in. You heard of him? He's a very Soloveitchik style. That's his style. And I remember as probably, I don't know how old I was, maybe 17, 18, 20, I don't remember, reading the words of the tefillah of Nachem Hashem and saying to myself, what are they saying? I mean, these are lies. I'll read, let's read the text, okay? This is how it appears in the Ashkenazi Nusach. So in Tisha B'Av, for Mincha, we say Nachem Hashem. Let's read the words. Nachem Hashem Elokeinu, et avlei Tzion ve'et avlei Yerushalayim. Now I'm asking you, please find one thing that's true from now, okay? Ve'et ha'ir ha'avela ve'achareva ve'habzuya ve'ashomema. Okay, Hashem, please give nechama to the city that's avela, that is destroyed, that is bzuya, that no one cares of. Ve'shomema, there's no one in the city. Ha'avela mibli baneya, there's no one, no banim, no Yehudim, no Jews in the city, in the city of Jerusalem. Ha'avela mibli baneya, ve'achareva mime'onoteha, there are no houses in Yerushalayim. Ve'abzuya mikvoda, ve'shomema me'enoshev, there's no one sitting in Jerusalem. Ve'yoshevet ve'rosha chafui, ke'isha akara shelo yalada. She's sitting there like a woman that has no children. She sees all her neighbors with children, and she's sitting there. She wants to give birth too. She wants to be pregnant. And I don't know when was the last time you were in Yerushalayim. The good news is it's not right. Okay? Basically, it's a lie. Okay? What do we do with it? I mean, how can we say these kinds of words? So we can say that Kol Zman, if the temple isn't built yet, so Yerushalayim is Chareva. It is true. It is true. Because we shouldn't just say, okay, this is enough, and we want more. We want more. We want it more spiritual. And if people say we're not cases because we want a temple, so it's their problem. We want a temple. We say it three times a day. We say actually 4 times a day. We want it. We're very serious about it. Now, if someone says it and he doesn't mean it, so go and ask him why did they say it. But the question isn't on me saying it. It's on him saying something he doesn't believe in. And I'm continuing with the tefillah. Al ken Tzion b'mar tivke v'Yerushalayim titen kola. The city of Jerusalem should be sad, etc. Now, you might have read the book of Mark Twain, written when he was walking in Israel, what the road we call today Route 65, like Wadi Ara in Israel. And he's walking there and he's looking to the left and to the right, and he sees no one there, and he's writing, "There's no one here. I'm looking to find someone, a tree, nothing." And he's walking all the way through Wadi Ara. And today you walk through Wadi Ara, you see hundreds of thousands of people living there. Okay. Mark Twain is talking about this, about Nachem. Yeah, that's only 150, 200 years now. Let's say 200. Okay, yeah. Things have changed since then. Yeah, we know that Rashi says, how do we know when the Geula comes? Very interesting. No, he doesn't say anything about having yeshivot in Jerusalem, which is also very important, having yeshivot and shuls. It's very important. But that's not a sign to the Geula. The sign is, Rashi says, and we said today's is your site, so let's say something in his name. בשעה שארץ ישראל נותנת פירותיה בעין יפה, when you see the land of Israel grows nice fruit, beautiful fruit. אין לך סימן גלוי מזה. That's the sign. If you see, now we say, okay, fruit, you can see fruit everywhere. You can go to the Yumbo, we buy beautiful fruit from Spain. Yeah, but in Israel, for 2,000 years, you just couldn't find beautiful fruit. If that's all, then if you could find fruit. I can say even more than that. Gush Katif, we know Gush Katif in the Gaza Strip, yeah, where Jews used to live. I really like that area. I went a few times. And in Gush Katif was known as a place where they grow the lettuce, the chasa, in a place that you just can't grow chasa. No one grows grows chasa in such a place. Sorry, over there, like yeah. Everyone told them like you're crazy. You just can't do it. No one in the world does it, and they said we will do it here, and they did it. Now the sad story is that we left there. We're not there anymore. But it's interesting to see that the Arabs who live there now are trying to do the same thing, and they can't succeed. They don't succeed. They're using more or less the same technologies, but there's no reason for it. You just can't grow the lettuce like we did. That's the sign to the Geula. She'eretz Yisrael notenet peroteh. But here we're talking about something else. A city with no people. Do you know how many people live in Jerusalem today? It's almost 1 million people. Think of you as kids, okay? If I would told you that in Jerusalem in 2023 there will be almost 1 million people, would you believe it? Who would believe it? It's a miracle. So how do we deal with it? So we see that there are a few answers of Rabbani. One option is what Rav Goren, who was the chief rabbi of the army, and also the chief rabbi of Israel, he said, let's write a different text. Not the whole thing. He didn't change the whole thing, but he changed something. So let's read it carefully and see what did he delete and what did he add. Okay, these are his words. Nachem Hashem Elokeinu et avelei Tzion ve'et avelei Yerushalayim, because we still are avelim, there's no temple. Ve'et ha'ir ha'avela ha'chareva ve'harusa, because if the temple wasn't built yet, it's still chareva. Okay. Tzion b'mar tivke ve'Yerushalayim titen kola. So we still need to pray. Libi libi al chalaleihem me'ai me'ai el harogeihem. It reminds us a bit of what we eat usually. UleYisrael amcha netata nachala. You gave the land to the children of Israel. UleZera Yeshurun Yerusha horashta. Yeah, the children of Israel should inherit the land. Na'ara Hashem Elokeinu me'afara. A shake of the dust from Am Yisrael. Ve'hakitza, wake it up. Me'eretz dveya. Nete elea kinar shalom. Come closer to us like a river of peace. Uchenachal shotef kevod goyim. Ki ata Hashem ba'esh hitzata. You Hashem, you set fire in the temple. Uvaesh ata atid libnota. Yeah, we have a masoret that the temple will be built. We don't know what it means, but by fire too. If it's mamash fire or not, I'm chloket. I'm not putting my head into it now.
It comes from above.
It depends who you ask.
Difficult to understand.
Where I studied, we were told it won't just fall, just like your lulav and eshrog don't fall to your hands. If you go and buy your lulav and eshrog, you will have a rabat aminim, and if you build a temple, so you will have a temple. The question is how to do it and when to do it. But again, it's a machloket, and that's our.
We have to wait for the Mashiach.
No, you don't have to wait for the Mashiach to build a temple. There's no halacha saying that you need to wait for the Mashiach to build it. It says that the Mashiach in the Rambam said that he will come and he will build, but it doesn't mean that it depends on it.
He comes in Tiberia.
Yeah.
Last Shabbos to the rabbi.
So if we read the Nusach of Rav Goben, so he's talking less about the city being empty of people, because also he thinks Swonk saying lies, but he still sees Yerushalayim as a place that's not the mission hasn't been complete yet. There's still more to do. A different nusach is a nusach written by Rabbi Chaim David Halevi. He was also a very big rabbi. And he takes actually the regular nusach of Nachem, and he just changes it a bit by adding the words shehaita, that was. So he says, let's say, Nachem Hashem Elokeinu tavnei Tzion, Beit Yerushalayim, v'ta'ir, instead of saying v'ta'ir avela, sorry, instead of saying ha'ir mibli banea v'chareva, ha'ir shehaita, that was, it used to be, without its people, mibli banea, v'shehaita, b'zuya, v'shehaita, but it's not changing the whole text. That's what he offers.
He doesn't mention that.
Well, the nusach of do you have the nusach in front of you?
No, this is my nusach.
So I'm not sure. I don't think he doesn't say it. I think he still says it. The only adding he does is saying shehaita, that it used to be mibli baneha, because you just can't say. You can't say Yerushalayim is mibli baneha, but he doesn't change the whole thing like the Rab Goren. Abu Vadia, we mentioned him before. He was asked what to do. Do we say the regular nusach? Do we not say the regular nusach? And he was very conservative, not conservative, sure, conservative in his mind. And he said, no, you don't change. And he wasn't always so conservative in everything, but specifically about this, he was. I'll just read the question and then I'll read the answer. He was asked, he used to write shutim, שאלות ותשובות, and he was asked, האם לא הגיעה השעה לשנות את הנוסח שבתפילת נחם, הנאמרת בתשעה באב? Isn't it time to change the nusach of Nachem that we say in תשעה באב? ובמיוחד מה שאומרים על ירושלים, especially what we say about ירושלים, העיר החרבה והבזויה והאבלה, it's wrong. כי לשמחתנו, thank God, we're very happy to say that our eyes see Jerusalem being built, and more people come to Jerusalem. And people come to the Kotel Ma'aravi from the whole world. Thousands and thousands of people come to Jerusalem. Maybe I'll just in brackets that I'll just say something just short. That I saw something very interesting video. It's nothing to do with halacha, or just a nice thing to know. So there's the two very nice things that have been seen on the cameras of some people that put cameras outside the Kotel in the last few years. I haven't checked it, but according to what they say, and it's rabbis, they say that there's once a day in the Kotel that everyone stays silent. Once a day. And when is that time? Vatikin. When everyone davens together, Vatikin, because they're all daving in the same time, Vatikin, they're all silent at that minute, 5, 7 minutes. And according to the cameras, the security cameras, in the last year and a half, the 26 white pigeons that come and fly above the mitpalilim at that time. And the minute the chazanim start Chazan Hashatz, they fly away. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it means. I haven't checked it, but it's interesting. 26 was 26. Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's the name of Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's one interesting thing. And another interesting thing that's been seen in the cameras is that we see shualim, foxes walking in the south. There's a Kotel Ma'aravi where we have it. There's also Kotel Adromi, the south one. And sometimes early in the morning we see shualim. I don't know, many years people haven't seen shualim. Now the shualim, we know the story of the shualim from Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, Rabbi Akiva and his friends.
And he was laughing and all were crying and said, yes, this is the beginning of the...
That's the sign. So they're seeing the same thing. Just like we said also today, that people see the same thing, see the miracle, but some decide to treat it that way and the others the other way. But they're seeing the same thing. And the same thing with Rabbi Akiva and his friends. They see the place of the temple where it was built, destroyed. And they see foxes walking there. And everyone's crying. All his friends, the rabbis, are crying.
He was laughing.
And he was laughing, and they're telling him, Rabbi Akiva, how can you laugh? The holiest place, the Holy of Holies, Chodesh Kodeshim, the place where the Kohen Gadol, the holiest person, comes to the holiest place on the holiest day, and you see that fox is walking out, and you're laughing. Are you kidding us? And he said, excuse me, are you kidding me? And he said, well, what do you mean? He said, we knew this is going to happen. We had prophets, right? They told us it's going to happen. But they also told us that it's also going to end. It's going to end. There's going to be a Geulah. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's going to happen. And those Shualim, for a long, long time, I don't know when it was last time they saw Shualim, but not in the last tens of years. And the last year, so you can see Shualim walking in the south part of the Kotel.
The beginning of the Geulah Shlema.
Is it the beginning? So that's also a good question. I spoke about it a few times, that we are not in Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, we are in Geulatenu. It's not a Geulah Shlema. It's more to do.
Nobody knows.
So we know the Maharal from Prague. According to Maharal from Prague, first thing, according to Rashi, it is Geulah, we just said it, right? According to Maharal from Prague, you need three things to define something as a Geulah, to define the time as a Geulah. And he says that you can't have at the same time also Galut and also Geulah. It can either be Galut, or Geulah. You can't have at the same time both, unless someone puts himself in a situation of Galut, but it's Geulah. So how do you define a Geulah? Three things. That if you don't have them, you're in Galut. And if you do have them, you're in Geulah. One, having Am Yisrael in one place. Two, the place is Eretz Israel. Three, not being controlled or ruled by the Nochrim, by the Goyim. Now, those three things happen today. By the way, in the days of when the Jews used to live in Babylon, there used to be, for 2 years, I never knew this until a few months ago, there was a Jewish state in Babylon. Existed for 2 years, but it wasn't enough. Because the Jews controlled themselves, they were united in one place, but it wasn't in Eretz Israel. They were missing the third thing. Today we have those three things. So according to Rashi, according to Maharal, and to others, of course.
Is that recognized also by the Orthodox Jews?
Of course, Orthodox.
No, no.
Maharal is Orthodox too.
Yeah. It's not recognized by all Orthodox Jews.
Of course. Of course. But
It's very important.
But they're not. There are more things that are not so recognized by. What can we do? What can we do? Again, I'm talking about the Maharal. If you want to look at it, it's the Hakdama, the beginning of the book of Netzach Israel. That's what he writes there. I hope the Maharal is good enough for those Orthodox Jews that don't believe it. But if it's not good enough, what can I do?
Make them believe.
Sorry?
Make them believe.
I'm not going to interfere into anyone's life. I can just say what I studied, and I try to remember it and pass it on to others. So the Rav Ovadia was asked, can we change it? Can we change the words or not? And Rav Ovadia answered, no, you don't change it. You don't change it. And why is that? And I won't read the whole answer. But basically it's because he's saying, although things have changed, and we need to thank Hashem, and we need to say Hallel, and we need to say the Bracha. Yeah, he was the chief rabbi of Israel too. But the Nusach of the Tefillah of Nachem was written by Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, which is interesting. Because if it was written by Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, when did they live, Anshe Knesset HaGedolah? Much before the temple was destroyed. So Rav Ovadia is saying that they knew it's going to be destroyed. And they wrote the Tefillah before it happened. They knew it's going to happen. They wrote the Tefillah. And he says, we can't change things that Anshe Knesset HaGedolah wrote. Now, it is interesting because there are some cases that we do change things in the Tefillah. For example, the Pasuk we say in Yom Kippur, Kifana Hayom, right? I'm looking at the pasuk. So there's the pasuk is, I think, like Anenu Hashem Kifana Hayom. Okay, now Hayom Ifneh Hashemesh Yavo Veifneh, and we say that pasuk during Ne'ilah of Yom Kippur. And
Can you please repeat?
Hayom Yifneh Hashemesh Yavo Veifneh. It's part of the Ne'ilah.
De weg gaat, het gaat weg, het komt schemering. De end van de.
end of-
end of
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It can okay.
And the Bach, one of the Gedolim, he wrote that, and it's also the halacha, what most shuls do, that you need to say this pasuk before the shkia, before sunset. Because if it's already sunset, you can't say Hayom Bifneh. Hayom is already Panah. It won't be Yifneh. It won't be in the future.
But we say that after the Shkia.
You're not allowed to say it. According to the Bach, and in many shows that I saw in my life, they try to say the beginning of Ne'ilah, not to sing too much before, not to say too much. Even where I learned in the yeshiva, they used to shorten the slichot, just to we used to like say less slichot, just to say this before the shkia in time. Now the answer they could have changed the pasuk and said Hayom Panah, right? But they decided to just hurry up the tefillah and just not to say lies in the tefillah. So this is a proof, and a few more proofs, but we don't have too much time. The few more proofs that we don't want to lie, so we change something. We either change the words or we change. We do something. We do whatever we can, just not to say lies in the tefillah. And maybe we can.
Is there an example that people in the past put an extra sentence, extra words in it, and they retract it later because it weren't lies, but became lies? Is there an example?
What do you mean? Like?
I mean, that's temporary. Yes.
Okay, yes, this.
It was. It has been.
In the tefillah, we say V'Yerushalayim Kaddish D'Rabbanan. Kiddush Levanan. Why is that?
I can't touch you.
Okay. I was gonna give the example of V'Yerushalayim Yericha. It was written by Anshe Knesset Gedolah. Now we know that there were some miracles in the second temple. Some miracles in the first temple that didn't exist in the second temple, right? So we see that even so the temple was built, people were still praying to Hashem because it's not enough having a state. It's not enough even having a temple. We want the real thing. We want the miracles just like we had in Bayit Rishon, like the Ktoret going up in one way, or people. There were 10 nisim that happened in the temple.
There wasn't that one.
Sorry,
There wasn't that
there wasn't that one. So I think that might be an example for such a thing. Yes. Okay. So I'll just end that. Of course, what people should do is what the Mara de Atta says. That's of course the most important, to keep the peace between the people. And when it comes to each one with himself, he needs to think, what does he want to say? What kinds of words to say truth or not? It's very important saying truth. If there's any questions.
What's your opinion? The temple has to be rebuilt Achshav now, or we wait till the Mashiach is coming?
I don't think we need to wait for Mashiach, but I don't think it needs to be built now.
I think that's
Not now.
No, because it's dangerous. No, because it's dangerous. If it would be dangerous, we wouldn't establish a state. If it would be dangerous, I wouldn't live where I live. I live in Samaria. I don't build my life on fears.
We don't want to build it now because we don't have
On
a
fears, from being feared, being afraid.
because we don't have a Kohen Gadol.
We can have a Kohen Gadol. We make a Kohen Gadol. By the way, right now, where we are talking, that's another miracle. By the way, there's 7 kosher parot adumot. In Israel, there were 5 that were brought. There was one that was brought. There was a born in Israel, but then they found like a white hair, whatever. So it was possible.
The white.
5 years ago, there was an American evangelist. You know what evangelists, right? What they are? They like the Yahadut and the state of Israel. And there was an American farmer who had 5 parot adumot. They brought into Israel last year. They're kosher. And last week I read about 2 more that we brought to Israel that are kosher parot adumot. They're all red. They have never worked. Never had anything on the back.
Oh,
They're kshirot.
the juk.
Yeah.
So the question is, I'm not sure we should do it right now, because I think we have a few more things to solve before. I think it's something that needs to come from the people. But if you ask me, do we need to wait for the Mashiach? If someone says yes, so he needs to show proof why. Technically, I mean, like any mitzvah, it doesn't say in the Torah, right? That you need to wait for the Mashiach to build the temple. And just like I said about the Arbat Minim.
Mocht er ook bouwen, but he collected. He collected the stuff to build. So we can start collecting.
We can start collecting. Look, if you go to one of the places I like taking my children, we go there almost every year. It's Muzeon HaMikdash. I don't know if you've heard of it or been there. It's ready. There's a kosher menorah. It's ready. Many of the things that we need for the temple are ready. We just need to build actual plans. There are also plans. There are architects' offices in Yerushalayim that already have a mamish, a plan going to where the electricity should be, and there's a whole plan. It's all ready, but we, the people, are not ready yet, and we need to be better.
But you have to destroy
I like to.
yeah. You have to destroy
So
that.
yeah, so okay, we're a bit off as well, but I'll just answer quickly. No, כי ביתי בית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים. That's what the Navi says. There's no problem for having goyim on Har HaBayit. They can pray there. That's what it says. כי ביתי בית תפילה יהיה. They will be praying there, unless it's avodah zarah.
If you want to get a mikdash again, you have to do it at the same place.
They can come to better mikdash.
Nobody's asking if it has to be on the same place.
It has to be in the same place.
The place that
Again, we can't base our life. Maybe some people do, yeah, but we need to step forward. That's part of the of the Geulah, being active and also taking some danger. Again, I wouldn't want to put anyone's life in danger, but the fact that look, if people would say we're not prepared to take any risks, so that we wouldn't have a state, right? Or we wouldn't have Yerushalayim, and we wouldn't have other things that we have now.
You talked about Am Yisrael. Well, Am Yisrael, is that everybody of the Jewish people, or is it the Rav of in Israel? And many more
Today,
Jews living outside Israel than inside Israel.
Do you know the numbers? I'll tell you. It's interesting. I'll tell you the numbers. How many people do you think, by the way, live? What's the percent of Jews living out of Israel?
The percent of Jews,
2023. I'll tell you.
55.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
The
okay.
45 exactly.
Yes.
45% live in Israel.
Yeah.
55% live out of Israel. Now it's interesting. Why is it interesting? Because we know what's going out of Israel. In the Netherlands, for example, how many Jews marry a non-Jewish wife or husband?
Too many.
Close to 80%. Okay? That's why I heard that this week. Yes. It's one of the most Muslim communities in the world. Go to the US, it's not very far from it. Okay, the numbers are going down and down out of Israel, and in Israel they're going up and up.
That's the solution for this question. It goes down because of the marriage, and in Israel it's the majority.
Very soon,
It's
I don't know what's going to happen. Probably, I believe it's going to happen in the next 20 years. The majority will be in Israel. And do you know what happens when the majority is in Israel? Halachically, mitzvot like Shemitah become deoraita. It's not today we do Shemitah, but from the Rabbanan. It's going to be deoraita. The whole economy, Israeli economy, is going to change because people are going to be shmor Shemitah. It's deoraita. You can't do the tricks anymore of heter mechira and things like that. So it's ended. The minute that 50%, more than 50% of Israel.
Then there's the other question. The Eretz Yisrael, the Binat Yisrael. So you're talking about Eretz Yisrael. You know the borders, exactly.
So there's a machloket between I have a book. I have a very nice book of Pnei Halacha written by Rav Navid, and he brings all the shittot. According to all the shittot, because there's a very known mistake. People think that Eilat is out of Israel. No. According to all the shittot, Eilat is part of Israel. Okay, and if someone tells you it's wrong, so he needs to prove
The
it.
Meshach also.
Sorry.
The Meshach
Yes,
also.
The Meshach. According to the Chimekila that makes Israel smaller, so the area of Tzor in Lebanon, that's the southeast part of the northeast border. Okay, most of them say it gets almost close to Turkey.
Yeah.
So in Yiddish we say shwaya shwaya.
Because you said three things, I asked just two of them.
What's the third?
Eretz is the majority. The other one I didn't ask.
So what's the question?
What's the third one? It has to be, what was the third? Three ones.
You mentioned
Leadership.
Jewish leadership.
Jewish leadership. Oh, yeah, they should
What's the
be,
question?
I didn't ask that. I asked the other two. Only two.
Okay.
No, three. Yeah.
When are you leaving us?
1 Augustus.
In August. I see you before the time, but nevertheless, I wish you Hatzlacha Rabba.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your interest in Shurim. Pity you're going, but I understand.
I need to go back to my land. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Wat? Ja, maar goed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Oké, goed.
Okay.
Dankjewel, Paul.
Bye bye.
Сегодня